everyone. We are going to get started real fast with some raising our hand calisthenics. Who's with me? All right. I promised Tim that he'd be first, but I've got to make an amendment to the agenda. So I'm going to first make a move that the agenda for the meeting of the CNA be amended to include A motion to preserve all meetings on video, B, a motion to spend neighborhood funds on signs, and C, a motion to spend neighborhood funds on AV streaming equipment. We will vote on all these separately. This is a vote to vote. Okay? Sound good? So, do I have a second?
Second.
Say your name, please. This is from the old secretary, the old president. Say your name so that the secretary will be, when she knows what.
Rebecca and Florence.
Yeah.
And can I have a show of hands, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So moved. All right. Then I will make a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Eileen.
All right. Everybody in favor?
Yep.
All right. Anyone opposed? Good deal. And also on the minutes from last meeting, I have a motion to accept the meeting of, the minutes of last meeting.
November 7th, maybe.
Flo, second. All in favor? All
Who
opposed?
did second?
I think Florence
Flip.
did. It doesn't matter, me or Florence, whoever.
Okay.
Florence is good. And anyone opposed? Excellent. Moving along then, we're up with the planning and zoning update. Mr. Tim Gambrell has joined us, and he's going to go over the proposed zoning changes for the community.
Correct. Okay, so yeah, my name's Tim Gambrell. I serve as chief planner for the city of Birmingham. And I think many of you, I know, recognize some faces that participated in some of our meetings. In the past, we've had several meetings at Highland Golf Course talking about the entire southern area. I think most of you probably know that you're in the southern area framework plan area, which includes 3 communities, Crestline, Crestwood, and Red Mountain community. So it's those 3 communities, they're in that southern area boundary. And so this is just the Crestline community that we're showing here to talk about specifically. And so it's interesting when you look at this map, you'll see obviously that we're showing all these zoning districts that we're going to rezone everything to. But what you'll also notice is there are areas on here that are bounded by a red boundary, and maybe a little bit difficult to see. You can see it here probably a little bit better. And so these areas that are bounded by red boundaries are the ones that we want to focus on, because all the other areas are just a change in name only, right? So when we change, I think this is probably R2, we're going to change it to D2. The same single family district, it's just a change in name only. Same uses allowed, everything's the same except the name change. And so in Crestline, you're going to see that that's the majority of the map. So really, what's happening in Crestline as far as the rezoning associated with this framework plan is very minimal. It's really just names being changed. But I am going to go through, there are 4 areas, and so that's why we do these little boundaries and have this little code down here. So you can see the places where we are changing zoning that have an effect, that may restrict uses or may allow new uses. And so we want to focus on those 4 areas in particular. So number 1 is a rezoning from a light industrial district to a general commercial district that's up here. This is across the interstate on Porto Madrid. I think what's located right there, I think that's the cab company, I believe. And then there's city property that's back here. It's owned by the city. It used to have an industrial building on it, but for us, it makes sense to down zone to commercial. Number 2 is the retirement community, or I forget, was this St. Martin's in the Pines, I believe, is currently zoned R6 multifamily, and so we're changing that to D5, which is also a multi-use district that allows for their use. We've got rid of R6 altogether, and so our sole our our sole district that only allows multifamily is R5, or D5, I'm sorry. And so we're gonna rezone that one to D5. Basically, that's what it is now, it's just a different name. Let's see, number 3, where's 3 on here? 3 is the church property, that's on Montclair next to the CVS. And so currently that's O&I, we're rezoning that to D3, single family district. Somebody wants to do something with that, you know, we're gonna put the onus on them to come forward and rezone that property. That's something I wanted to mention to everybody too, I'll just go ahead and do it now, is that we really haven't taken the opportunity through this process to kind of be a kingmaker, you know what I mean? So we've had plenty of calls, hey, you're going through this process, you know, why don't you just change this too, you know? And we're not doing that. Across the board, generally speaking, we have not done that. You know, our goals are to create mixed-use districts and to eliminate conflicts where we can, especially heavy industrial property, but also other places that, you know, if you have a dilapidated apartment complex, deteriorated apartment complex, something like that, it's been condemned by council, those kinds of properties we're gonna look at to change. But in this case, obviously, so, you know, I mean, it's fronts on Montclair, you know, and so it might be, you know, thought that, hey, this is a place for commercial. We're not doing that, you know, we're gonna put the onus on the developer to go through that process, so there'll be a public process for a specific
What was the
development.
last thing you said? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. The little curve in there, the red thing, right there. What'd you say that was?
This is the church that's next to CDS, that's vacant now.
The old Lutheran
It's just west of the CDS. Yeah, it used to be a Lutheran church, kind of sits up on a hill, I think, doesn't it? Yeah. That one, yeah, so, yeah, it does have frontage on both sides. But, so anyway, that one we're changing from O&I to D3. Once again, we're gonna put the onus on the developer to come and rezone that property for something other than what it is now. And then the 4th property is, you probably know, there's a little auto body shop here, along the Porto Madrid as you cross the interstate. Currently, for some reason, it's zoned heavy industrial, so we're gonna downzone that to light industrial for that use that's there. And so those are the only changes that are occurring on this map. And so like I say, for most of these zoning maps, this is probably one of the ones with the fewest changes. You know, so really, there's not a lot happening here. You know, it's mostly residential, except for all the commercial, you know, the historic commercial. And so all those areas are that now, and we're not proposing to change any of those, except for those 4 cases that I mentioned.
Can we get a copy of that?
Sure, I think several people have copies, but I'll leave this one.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
all right.
Can we ask
Is that-
questions? I was just wondering if we could ask questions.
Yeah, we're gonna, try to keep it to about a minute apiece, and if you have a question, stand up and state your name, please.
Barbara White, where is Michael? Michael is here, part of the Celestine group, and my question to you is, okay, the Silversteins came to this group and wanted to rezone, but then he took it back.
Right.
Okay, if they decide to break up the property and put smaller, or put homes on that, if they decide, does that go to the subdivision committee?
They would have to subdivide the property. Currently, it's a one lot. If it's not zone multifamily, they can't put more than a couple of structures on a lot. And so, yeah, if they were to do single family or try to do duplex or something like, if they wanted to do duplex, they have to rezone. But if they just want to do single family, yeah, they're gonna have to go to subdivision.
Okay,
Yep.
and we don't know that yet, I'm just
That's right.
questioning that, but will we have input into that at that time?
Subdivision cases do get notified to properties that are adjacent.
Okay, and the reason I'm saying that, folks, is because when I was president and we had to rezone the legacy property, which is right across the street. And they wanted to put a whole lot more units on it. And it ended up, they had to go to the subdivision committee and they got it down to the decent number. And we didn't have to do anything because the subdivision committee did it for us.
But we had asked.
I was gonna say, did you ask them or have input in that?
We had,
No, we were
we
not.
did a lot of talking about it.
No, we did a lot of talking to the developers. But when they went to subdivide, it had to be down the numbers. And I think it's like 14 or 18 now, something
Yeah, I
reasonable.
think the main thing we had was to not have it back up, you know, have the backside to the street is what we really stopped. But that also meant it was less number.
Okay. Anyone else? Yep, Don.
Don Ferguson. Got a question, is the D zoning in effect now or not?
Well, in different parts of the city, yes, you know, so, and when you say D, you know, D stands for dwelling,
Yeah,
there's
well,
5
the
dwelling
D-
districts,
D
1 through 5.
whatever.
And so, yeah, so areas of the city that are in communities, that have already had their rezoning plan adopted, you know, they're under the new ordinance, you know, so and that's kind of why we're doing this, it's a little peculiar, but we're transferring from our old zoning ordinance to the new one that we wrote in 2015. And as we adopt community rezoning plans following the framework plan process, you know, we'll rezone to those new districts. When we're finished with the last one this summer, hopefully, we'll sunset the old ordinance and we'll be under the new one completely. So there's no properties within Crestline community that have the D designation at this point in time.
Okay, then, one other question, please. When they came for zoning, the, request was from R3 to D5.
Right.
And I can't make sense, I could see it going from R3 to R5, or from D3 to D5, why was it
Yeah,
inconsistent?
because, so we're, you know, we would advise folks to go to the new district. You know, we don't want to rezone to the old districts, we're gonna sunset the old districts and get rid of them. So, you know, anybody that comes into rezone, I don't care what it is, where it is, you know, we're gonna ask them to rezone to one of the new zoning districts.
Even, okay, I understand.
Chad?
Tad Bailey,
This is next.
how fluid is that map?
Well, I mean, I think if somebody were to bring us something that was, you know, that just stood out and said, oh, wow, well, we missed this, you know, so it's a fluid map, I mean, it's not adopted. You know, so this map, when we meet on February 11th with the entire southern area community, at that point in time, we wanna take a vote, you know, of recommendation. And so, at that point, I would say that, you know, it's probably where we need to stop making any changes, you know, because that's something we voted on to move forward with. But once again, I doubt that we're gonna, you know, have somebody come and say, hey, this is wrong, you know, may happen, and if it does, and if it makes sense, you know, we'll change it, you know, but, this one, like I said before, is pretty straightforward, you know, there's very minor changes occurring here, mostly it's you know, it's what it is now, you know, it's just a different name, so. But there's possibility, I mean, I think, you know, we'll leave the map with you, people scrutinize it, you know, they're available on our website as well, at birminghamal.gov/PEP, under Community Rezoning tab, you click on that tab, these maps are available there. But I think there's several copies in different people's hands through this process, and I'll leave this one as well.
Alright, what I'm getting at is a developer can't come up at some point.
And I've already said, we're not doing that, we're not doing that,
Alright.
we're not doing that.
Susie?
Susie Denson, my question is, and it may have already been answered, so forgive me if I'm being redundant. But, so, if this changes, what you're proposing, and this changes, I don't know how to say this in a tactful way, so I'm just gonna say it in probably a non-tactful way, okay? So there's no way that Mr. Silverstein can come and slide something in on whatever changes today, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that was tacky.
That's all right.
That was the question I was about to ask next, so.
Yeah, you know, once again,
Well, I
and to
just-
be honest with you, I was gonna say this, I'm here to talk about this map,
I know.
I'm not here to talk about other things. I'm here to talk about what this map proposes, and that's really what the focus is for this meeting tonight.
We're just
All right.
trying to protect it.
So,
Well, but that's
understood.
already
April and then
happened.
Michael.
Okay, and my question is on the different types of residential. So we're switching from the RCDs, that makes sense. Can you explain in layman's terms, because we've got a lot of it in jargon terms, kind of it visually or conceptually in elementary form, what the difference is between you know, R/2, the D2, 3, 4, 5 moving up, what it's gonna visually look like for a neighborhood.
Gotcha. Yeah, so all of the D districts, you know, up to D3, so D1, D2, D3, all allow the same uses. House, you know, single family house, church, school, park, fire station and that kind of stuff. Public building is what we would call it. But so that's universal to those three districts. The only real difference on the three districts is the setbacks potentially, or depending on established yards, and or the size of the lot. So under R1, I believe it's 20,000 square feet. R2 is 15. R3, I think it's 5, if I'm not mistaken.
So the lots get smaller.
The lots
as you
get
go up.
smaller, the
And then
setbacks get a little tighter.
D4 and D5.
D4 would allow for duplexes, triplex, quadplex, a bunch of different types of,
Multifamily?
housing types. I wouldn't call them multifamily. Multifamily, we define multifamily as 13 units or above. Yeah.
Okay. Michael?
I just want to address the comment. We would never
I'm sorry.
do that. I mean,
it's tacky.
that's,
I'm sorry.
well, that's bad business. I mean,
Well, sorry.
well, with
I'm
all due,
sorry.
I
Coming
know,
in and trying to put that on that small property is bad business.
but we went before the neighborhood association and the presidents three times before coming to the neighborhood to ask for a vote. So it was public record the entire time, so you had the opportunity to give us your opinion.
Didn't
Which-
know.
What did you not
Didn't
know?
know until the big meeting. Didn't know anything
All
about
right,
it.
let's just
Regardless,
get this-
I would like to make the general comment, we would never do something like that, never have, and never
Very
would.
glad to hear it.
Okay.
We said it before and say it again.
In the back.
Alicia, I want to ask you that designation of the lot size is 5,000 square feet. So that means you could have 9 dwellings on an acre.
Practically, probably 8. Yeah, 8. Because I think an acre was 43,560 or something like that.
And so what can we get on that? I mean, that's like a tiny home. I mean, that's.
They would be smaller houses, probably, starter homes. I think, many people here probably have owned their home for a long time, and you might remember a time when you had to buy a starter home that was smaller. Today, try to find a starter home. If you're a fireman married to a school teacher, you can't afford to buy a house in the city. And so, I think we talked about the Fair Housing Act earlier. Not everybody wants to live in the same type of building. Some people don't mind living in multifamily. Some people don't want to live in a single family. And so, so it just provides option and choice and, allows for different types of housing types. And like I say, there's not a lot of starter homes out there, but starter homes are available, are very, very expensive.
Most of the lots in Crestline Park are 50 by 100, which is 5,000.
Yeah, many of those lots in this area are similar size.
I mean, a more traditional size lot is quarter of an acre, really.
Michael?
Would you talk about, just for a minute, using our project specifically, the previous application? We did try and change the D5, but we had it with Q conditions.
Yeah.
And we tried to talk about that at
Yeah.
length. We were not asking for a blanket D5 zoning. Would you
No, I
talk
get
about
you.
Q
Like I
conditions,
say,
please?
I don't wanna get into that.
I know, we can talk about Q
That's not
conditions,
what
I'm just
I'm
talking about
gonna
Q
answer.
conditions in general.
Well, Q conditions are available for rezoning cases, and that's a whole different subject. I'm here to talk about this map. That's what I wanna focus on.
On the southern,
Go ahead.
sorry, on the southern framework, one of the things we had talked about, as a neighborhood, was, and we were just talking amongst ourselves, trying to understand, so if you cross Montevallo, it's D2. And then, if you come to Crestline Park, what we call Crestline Park, which is over near where the hidden park is, it's D3. If we as a neighborhood wanted to ask y'all to make it all uniformly D2, is that something we could bring up prior to the February 11th meeting? If we wanted to say moving forward, if you're gonna, buy a 3-acre property and throw a bunch of single family houses on it, it needs to be D2. Could we ask y'all for that?
That's something I would wanna talk to our city attorneys about, but I would also say that you would, basically, what you end up doing is you turn a lot of your lots into legal non-conforming lots, and potentially that would cause problems for the homeowner.
So we wouldn't grandfather in the houses there?
Well, they would be legal non-conforming.
Okay,
And so in order to maintain your legal non-conforming status, you can't alter the structure. Like say if you wanted to enlarge the structure,
okay,
or if you had issues with the lot size and setbacks.
okay, that's what
It's
we're
just gonna cause problems, I think.
Okay, that's fair.
What if, okay,
I live on Monarch, and you was talking about, first spiral. That's basically what that area
That's what it
started
was,
at.
yeah. Mhm.
And on Monarch, those was some of the first ones built, and we have the bigger lots
I see.
out of the whole thing. If I was to sell my house and my neighbor sold that to the same company,
Right.
would they have to go to the new size lots if they're smaller and face back?
Well, you can always build larger, you know, the 5,000 is a minimum. That's a
Okay.
minimum lot size, so if you wanted to do a larger lot, you could do that.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry if I missed it at the beginning. What's it currently zoned as, and then is there a proposed change now of the park properties zone?
So current,
What property are you talking about?
so the,
Hidden Park,
our
the
neighborhood is D3. The Crestline Park on the side where the park is and Saws is D3.
Right.
And then the Montevallo side, if I recall, is D2.
Yeah, it seems like it goes west, south and west along the creek here. That area is D2, and then some of the portion up on the ridge is D2 as well.
And what is the orange and the red, just from this?
Yeah, these are, you know, this is where St. Martin's and the Pine is, that's a D5 property, existing apartment complex, here and here. And of course, the red is all general commercial.
And then they're on the western edge of the map.
Yeah, and so that's similar, these are the apartments that are down, I forget the name of that, Tapestry.
Okay.
Barbara White, I know,
You don't have to say that.
I know why south of Montevallo is D2 and north of Montevallo is D3. In the sixties or the late fifties, when the houses were built south, that was Baker Dairy Land. They opened it up. The Bakers had a house there. Jody Baker, that is his church, lives back there. But they opened it up, and the man who was head knocker at PEP was my neighbor. He was still alive. He died a couple of years ago. His name was Myron Sasser. He stopped, you know, when you get to, you have to go down Mountain Dale and take a right onto Warren and then go to Lynch, and you have to cross the creek there, instead of going across Monterey. He didn't want anybody coming into his neighborhood. There's no bridge there. This man had that much power. He was one of the first, and he started the whole code thing, was part of the whole code thing as an Auburn graduate during the war and after the war. But that's why that was done that way, because he wanted his neighbors to have bigger lots. And I guess they had already started building on the other side, because that wasn't pasture land. Where we live was pasture land along the creek.
And now you know.
Is anyone else? Yep.
David Bolus. Again, I apologize for reiteration issues. Much of this area is currently the equivalent of D3 or will be D3 under this. And that allows for apartments, basically quadruplexes and
No.
elevated.
No, yeah, D1, D2, D3 are all single-family districts.
Okay, some of the information that's on the internet states differently, but that is, we can document that as.
Are you talking about a particular piece of property?
Well, again, I'm coming in late, so I apologize. I just want clarification to make sure we have understanding this will be single dwelling, but you didn't mention, I guess it was D5 is up to quadruplex.
D5 is a multifamily district, where you can actually do
And
multiple
D3 is
family
the
apartments.
current, but down to postage stamp of 5,000 square feet.
On D3, yeah. That's correct. D3 allows for lots as small as 5,000 square feet.
So we're currently D3, and the proposal that got tabled before was to move us that 3 acre spot to D5.
But that's not happening now?
That's for a later part of today's meeting.
Yeah, that's something that will come later.
Yeah.
It's not part of this process.
That good? Anyone else?
Thank you, sir.
Tim, we appreciate you, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you, I'll just leave the map with you.
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you so much.
And I would mention too, though, February 11th, I believe it's 6 o'clock at Avondale Library. I imagine you all gotten that notice.
Yep, we'll be there,
Well,
That's
I'll
the,
post it on the Facebook page as well.
thank you.
that's the Red Knight or the, how?
It's all three communities, Crestwood, Crestline, and Red Mountain Park.
Oh, good.
So all three communities are in that same southern area framework plan area.
And is that the final meeting for this, for that map? And if there's any.
That's our
proposed changes?
intention, yes.
Okay.
Well, what's the 28th?
The 28th is kind of a workshop, and it's really more focused on, Red Mountain, or Highland Park.
That's their meeting then, is the 28th.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, yeah, but it's a workshop with us and them.
They've got more issues to
We
deal
don't need it, yeah.
No,
We don't need
we're
to be
good.
there. We don't need to be there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank
See
you.
on the bill.
Thank you.
Right, we, got some surprises, and, I'm just gonna squeeze them in, because I wasn't sure if the, police would be able to join us from the East Precinct. Guys, thank you, appreciate you coming. Do y'all have, anything to report for us?
Nothing right now.
Alright, we're pretty quiet around here, sure, yeah, go ahead.
We had a slew of yard signs stolen. We called, those of us who had signs taken, called 311 because, we understood that there had been, a 311 call put in. The city council's office was able to confirm that it was not Public Works. If people want to, I understand there's been 1 or 2 police reports on that. If people want to file police reports, is that as easy as just a phone call to you guys to say something was stolen out of my yard? Okay, and are y'all able to see how many of those calls you've gotten? At some point in the future, until
Yes, it'll probably just take a while unless you can get like a, like first and last and address, or either just the address of who, everyone that reported it, so we can just narrow it down and then get you that number.
Right.
And,
So if you call 311, that doesn't count, we'd have to call you.
And just say we had something stolen off our property, what kind of call would that be entered into, as a theft or a?
it'll be a theft, yes ma'am.
If you don't have the East Precinct number in your phone, I'd go and put that in there tonight for sure, it's very handy. If you don't, if it's not a 911, it's not a 311, you can call them, and they're very helpful.
What's that number?
205, whenever y'all are ready, I know.
Let me write it on the board.
Good?
205.
There we go.
254. 2654 from us? 2685.
As he started up.
The non-emergency BPD.
That's actually just a number for the precinct. If y'all need the non-emergency, you can write it up there as well. You need to.
You are done,
Write
bud.
this up too.
That was easy.
Non-emergency, right?
Yeah.
205.
328. 9311. Do you have any addresses on that?
Yeah, we've got a handful in the room who had their things taken directly out of their yard.
Anyone else have a question?
This is just general, but with the academy, with y'all getting new student, new class, is the East Precinct getting more? Getting more officers?
So usually it's, it's 4 precincts, so I think it's like 28, 29, so basically they usually just split it,
So they just.
4 ways and just divvy them out like that.
Well, guys, I've been to a few neighborhood meetings in other districts, and what I have learned is that we should all be very thankful for the problems that we have around here, because we don't have any problems around here.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, so thank y'all, and, appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much. Stay safe. And let's see, going on to some, old business now. Michael, would you like to, update anything tonight? Okay. Can you introduce yourself before you leave? I know you gotta take off.
My name is, yeah, that's good. My name is Jeremy Littlepage, I'm running for the mayor of Birmingham, so I had a whole speech, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't. That's
All right, thank
entirely
you.
my fault. We're gonna put him on the agenda and have him come back and give us
Thank you.
a talk. Thank you. All right, we've got some official announcements, dealing with our upcoming election, and I'm gonna let Barbara talk about that.
Oh. I thought you meant this one. Todd is our new president because by the CPP plan, you have a vice president. When your president leaves, they move up. Well, we didn't have a vice president. We had one for a day. Maria moved. Todd is our new president, so our vice president spot is open. And Todd is announcing tonight that there will be an election. We can, if anybody wants to put their name in the hat now, we will not be able to vote tonight, but we will be able to vote next time on your candidacy. Right now, Maren and I did a really fast swoop through 4 meetings, the last 4 meetings. This one's included. And Sweet Hallie Gibbs is the only one that has all the qualifications, which is 4 meetings and lives in the neighborhood. So, I'm asking, Hallie, will you throw your hat in the ring? And if you have been to 4 meetings and this is your 4th, and there is one person.
At least the 4th in the last year, so they don't have to have been consecutive.
Oh, no, but I've talked to all the 4 that were available, and nobody wanted it, and Todd was elected. So, Hallie, are you accepting?
I will accept. If anybody else has,
Yeah.
extra meetings and you wanna throw your name in the hat, that's cool too.
Just so we have, well, I should throw my name in there. The hell with it.
John Ferguson
Got us an
and
election.
Hallie Gibbs.
Can you tell us what the qualifications are to be on the
Qualifications are to have been to 4 meetings in a year, in the past year, and live in the neighborhood.
That's it?
And 18.
18 years old, yeah. But what
And
does the
want
vice
to
president
work.
do?
What are the duties and responsibilities of the vice?
Vice president takes over when the president
My
is not
bodyguard.
here. He barely leaves his home, except to play croquet.
Are you a bodyguard?
But Todd has got so much good stuff going for him, for us. And Hallie is working closely with him. I think she will be excellent. Not that I'm proselytizing, is that what you call it? I don't know. Anyway, you know, if you want to be active in this, and we want so desperately for young people, younger than 81, to be involved, because we're all a bunch of old people. And y'all, this is your neighborhood. This is your neighborhood that we were trying to keep safe for you. And we have done. I think I was an officer for 10 or 15 years. I don't know, it was a long time. But anyway, I have now done what you asked me to, and I've talked too long.
Thank you very much. On to new business. We've got some organizational updates. First one, I really thought we were doing something groundbreaking, and it turns out we're just late to the party. But we have formed the Crestline Community Foundation. It's a registered nonprofit in the state of Alabama, and we've applied for a 501c3 status. We should get that in a couple of weeks. We are one of a whole bunch I've found. I don't know the full number, but there are a bunch of neighborhoods that have 501c3s. The reason I wanted to do it is because the money that we have is very difficult to spend. No offense, but it's very difficult to spend. And I just got to the point where I thought we'd raise our own money and spend it ourselves. But I think we can do a lot of great things with it. I've been talking to people involved in other neighborhood 501c3s, and they're doing great things. And one of the first things we want to do, we have a Citizens Advisory Board where me and the other 99 presidents get together once a month, and meet. But we want to try to get all the 501c3s together, and if not meeting on a regular basis, at least being in contact, knowing that we all exist, and being able to share best practices and neat projects and that kind of thing. So we formed with 5 original board of directors, which is me, Barbara, Tad, Hallie, and April, and then we have voted in Don and Amy McMullen as well. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have 501c3 status and we can take your tax deductible contributions. That'll be fun. Question?
As a 501c3, are you able to fundraise through grant writing?
Well, one thing I've learned is that there's a couple of different kinds of foundations. There's like a real foundation, and they just take in money and spread it out like that. Or there's one that's sort of in name only, where we just kind of do what we want. We're up for anything. We're new at this.
It'd be interesting though,
We're
because
up for anything. Any idea?
501c3 nonprofit that's mission-based obviously can't fundraise through grants, but I just wonder if it would apply to the neighborhood.
I would say we should, and I would say what we should emphasize and ask for some feedback on is, the goal of this is we all came together on such short notice. I mean, this meeting is 5 times larger than the regular meetings. We want to keep this going. And so I think you're right. I think if we have some mission-based things where we could apply for grants for very specific community-based things, so it's something.
With a 501(c)(3), aren't you restricted to doing certain things with your money?
There's,
I mean,
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
like you can't do.
Yes, we have also, I'll just mention that we've reached out publicly for bookkeeping and legal assistance. We've had a little bit, it's been very helpful, but we would love to have somebody who's interested in kind of being there with us.
I have some nonprofit experience, and normally after you receive a grant, if you do, you have to follow up with a report of what you did, and it has to follow the grant guidelines. You can't just say, oh, what's up, party, unless that was part of it. You have
Great,
to actually.
we're gonna rely on you.
I know, yeah.
Go ahead.
You
How was
actually
the
have to.
board selected?
I started it and I had to pick 5 people. It was my selection. It is a private company. Go ahead.
It's just like when I ran for office, and you could have a slate of 3 people, president, vice president, and secretary, and they gave us, CRs used to give us the slate, and you could walk around the neighborhood and get people to sign it. And this lady over on Swallow says to me, oh, right here, well, what are your qualifications? And it was that I would run, and that I was volunteering, because nobody else was. And I ended up president of this thing 3 times when people moved or died. 3 times.
All right.
So it's your volunteerism that counts. And please don't question people, make ugly statements about them, because they're volunteering. It's not costing you a dime. And they're giving their time and their money and their paper for their printer and their time on the computer with text.
So
What about money we're supposed to get from the city?
they're coming up next.
Oh, it's not, okay.
Yep, absolutely. One more quick organizational note. The neighborhood president is allowed to form a neighborhood advisory group. And I've done that because I'm a dummy and I need lots of help. So the members of the foundation and the members of the neighborhood association combined form that advisory group. But I'm looking for more help. We'd like to do some committees. We've got an AV committee that Allie's gonna do, and she's gonna talk about in a little bit. We want to do a Shades Creek Greenway committee that can discuss all the problems that, or any of the problems that may occur with the homeowners that's gonna be impacting. And we definitely wanna do a traffic and safety committee also. We've had super good work from traffic. They've been very helpful, very responsive. We've got our new three-way stop sign, intersection you've seen at the, Haygood and Dunstan. And I think, they're happy to put in more stop signs. He told me they like stop signs, they're the cheapest form of speed mitigation and a lot more attractive than a speed bump.
Somebody was working on that, I'm sorry, who was, somebody coming, Crosby?
Crosby Taylor.
Is he here?
He's not, he was working with us.
Okay.
Yeah, Crosby's done great work, and, I was hoping to meet him because I want him to be on that committee. Yeah, go ahead.
A couple of years ago, we signed a petition on Haygood for speed bumps,
Right.
and they said that would come in probably within a year. You know what's happened to that?
Hunter, can you take that?
Yeah, I think that the neighborhood voted again to not have them.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what happened, we got the stop sign instead. Personally, I think those rubber speed bumps are horrible, ugly, and, just terrible to go across. But I have been, evangelizing the Mountain Brooks brand new speed hoops, whoops, are you familiar with them?
Yeah.
Like you kinda have to go in the other lane.
The
is
back,
that-
yeah, it's the back road that goes to Copper Heights,
Yeah.
Through Mountain Brook.
It forces
It's
you
like
into the
a
lane.
series of little, just
Yeah.
whoops that you go through, and it's a pleasant experience, they're beautiful. Traffic informed me that they're made of concrete, so they have to be maintained and repaired, and that's why they don't like them, but, and also the fire department doesn't like them. They like the rubber speed bumps, because they can go around them. So I've already put in, questions to the fire marshal of Mountain Brook to figure out why he likes these and it's not the others, so.
Hey Todd, I know you're so tired of all these, everybody's like, but like, how do you get to put in like a request, like, or maybe, and I know I've only been to 2 meetings and I'm gonna start coming, but like, we live on the corner of Strathmore and Gladstone, right there by the cemetery, and it's just, I mean, it's a cluster all the time, and so is there a way to get a stop sign there, or?
Yeah, there is, and it's probably not that hard. I think you should, both of you guys should, be on that committee, and I'll introduce you to Colin, and, I think a phone call is probably all it'll take. So far, it's been that easy. We met with them, about the dip, on Monarch yesterday morning, and,
He came out and looked at it.
he sure did, and,
Where it used to be.
they can fix it for drainage, they can't necessarily put the dip back in for speed mitigation, which is kind of what we were pushing for. But apparently there's some, liabilities with that kind of thing, which, anyway, lawyers. So anyway, I think we're gonna get it drained, and if we want a stop sign there, maybe we'll just ask for a stop sign, make it a three-way. Go ahead.
Is the little path that runs to the cemetery, is that even a public road?
It is, but this is something that I'm gonna make an issue of, because it shouldn't be. One, it's way too narrow. Two, there are people buried under there.
Underneath the road?
Underneath the road.
Whoa.
I think if you block it off, it's, I mean,
How do you know that? Cemetery.
Because if you go over to the Irondale Library and look and ask for their little folder of their historical documents, there's a lady over there who did all the work, and she not only found the people that are under the road, but she found all the unmarked graves.
Oh.
It's on Nextdoor, I posted it several
I was
years
gonna
ago.
say, Todd keeps posting all these really, interesting facts on Nextdoor and his Facebook.
Yeah, it's on there, I'll
Of the
repost it.
historical parts of our neighborhood.
Our church kept it clean just to
Yeah.
keep it clean.
Well, the foundation is gonna help organize, cleaning up that place. I'm gonna push to have it shut off completely. I hope you're okay with that, cause.
I use it, but I mean, I don't know if y'all like it at all
It's
or
ridiculous,
not.
I'm surprised there are not more accidents there, and it's,
Just trying to get it
yeah.
out.
And there's moral implications, there's bodies under it, it's disrespectful. So,
I hear you, I didn't
Anyway,
realize
that's-
that. I didn't know if you could move that pole, you know? I don't know if that would help, but you're probably messing up more graves.
No,
than
it
trying
needs to
widen
be
it.
grassed over and maybe a small park right in between the two.
But I don't know who maintains since McElwain sold, I don't know who now maintains.
Volunteers.
The members still maintain
Yeah,
it.
the tax map says that McElwain owns it, McElwain says that it's owned by the individual plot
I
owners.
go visit the people, but I don't know.
Well, let's just get, yeah, go ahead.
Are we on number 5 or 6?
we are on number 5.
Okay, at some point, I know we've got a couple reports, we've got Hunter here, and we've got the community, resource officer report, but can we go back to old business? I feel like that's why most of the people are here, and give what we do, even though Mr. Riley doesn't wanna give a statement tonight, we have heard a little bit from the developer, and I just wanna make sure that that's in the minutes. Just after we get through the two presentations.
I'm pretty sure we are not expecting anything within a few months.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So the update is that there won't be anything from the developers for,
The update is there's no update.
expected
Yeah,
for several months.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Updates, there's no update. And they're gonna let us know. Yeah, so that's it. So let's just let Alice go first, instead of going through this next, because it probably will go right into it, because we've got some money we'd like to spend.
Okay, good evening, happy new year to everyone.
Happy New
I
Year.
was outside, I heard a few of your questions about traffic calming, about spending, and the misnomer is the city does not put these rules in place about spending, but the state of Alabama does, so we have to abide by those guidelines, but I do think it's a great idea that you form your own 501c3, so one thing I can recommend that once you do vote to create your own 501c3, talk to your CRR, and we can see if some of those projects fit, and maybe you can allocate some of those funds to streamline the process for you.
That'd be wonderful.
So just keep that in mind. We try our best to get projects done, but of course, we are limited by state law, so we can't just randomly approve projects. It has to go through the Office of City Attorney. When it comes to traffic calming, if you have issues or concerns, put those issues into C-Click Fix. I also serve on the traffic calming committee, so if it's something you'd like to see, let us know. I know we have a little, we're kind of holding back on those speed tables because we have maybe about I don't even know how many in the queue now, about 500-600 or more in the queue. And so we're trying to catch up on those because once we approve them, all of the neighborhoods wanted to do it. So they're asking if you do get it approved later on, the neighborhood pays for half of it and the city will pay for half of it. So right now, we're so backlogged, there's no point in even trying to get one because we're trying to work through those we currently have. So, do y'all have any questions for me? I don't mind answering. Concerns, issues, or complaints?
What's our current balance?
That's Florida, I don't have that in top of my head. I have not even labeled. Oh, that's right.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I was outside the door as well. My name is Flora Johnson, and I serve as you all's community resource representative. And so to answer your question, the neighborhood has a balance of $46,242.37. You all have not done any projects, so that's why your balance is so high. But whatever projects you are willing to do, or for your foundation, whatever we can do to make it work, I'm more than happy to help make those things a reality.
What sort of projects would that pay for?
What do you mean? Sidewalks, allocations to the schools, band uniforms.
City meeting signs.
City meeting.
What about the
meeting signs?
Meeting sign.
Neighborhood signs.
What
Street
about-
toppers. Yes, ma'am.
Like when you pull up, like when you turn into Hoadley, that little island area, could you make that pretty and put
Yes,
like flowers and?
Absolutely. We have a greenhouse in Birmingham, a lovely greenhouse as well, so you can go out and actually get plants if you want.
Anything like,
Where's that? It's you all know where the Birmingham Crossplex is? It's over there. Sure is. Yes, ma'am.
do you do anything like upgrading like she was talking about, or in the Crestline Park? Do we have to go through the park?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am, because there's a park, so you have to go through the Birmingham Park and, Rec Board. That's a great question. Any other questions? Or what would you all like to see? Yes, ma'am.
So how much is funded annually into the neighborhood?
$2,000.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm not-
It used to be more, right?
It
It used to be 10,000.
It did.
Yes, it was 10,000.
Well, but that was when Larry Langford almost bankrupted
Who
the
was
city.
We need more fountains. That's what
Who was it that put it down? Was it Langford?
Langford did 10,000 for
Alice?
his real
That's
estate.
hard. It was
Mayor Langford's the one that went from 10 to
Neighborhoods
2.
were not properly allocated, so case in point, we've been posting on our social media pages the past couple of weeks. I have a neighborhood a community we posted. They've had about 96 people attending their meetings. They have a budget of, how much was their budget for the?
It was almost $150,000.
Yeah, about 150,000. They spent like 3,000 on holiday social and things like that. So we're encouraging you to find projects in your neighborhood. I know I talked to another neighborhood today and they told me about their 501c3. I think it's a great idea. I like y'all to get your money. I like you to spend your money because that's less work for us to have to deal with. If you spend it on projects for your neighborhood, so we encourage that. Anything that we can do. Now, I wanna go back because Josh is gonna kill Flo. But when it comes to the greenhouse, we have a process for that. So we try to ask people that if you have a project, we sit down, we talk to horticulture, see what they think, see if there's something they can provide. And sometimes even, you might have to use some of those funds to purchase other things that we don't have, but they just have like, if they have surplus things in the greenhouse, it's available. But it just depends. It's not a guarantee because if we have a bad winter or something like that, we might not be able to do it. But we can check with them on your behalf if that's something you wanna do. And we also have, which I probably shouldn't be put out, but we have a landscape architect. He is amazing. And I've been able to bum his services a couple of times, so I don't know, I'd have to get permission to see if he could come take a look and tell you what type of plants you can put out that are self-sustaining, because once we put it out, we don't wanna tax public works with having to come, water, do all that stuff. So we have some folks in place if you're interested in that, and we're willing to work with y'all. Y'all get with your committees and just let us know, but we wanna see those funds being used in the neighborhood. We want them to be put to good use. So if there are any things that you wanna see improved in your neighborhood, you might wanna do additional lighting, solar lighting, stuff like that. I don't know, it's just whatever you can think of. And we're gonna toss it to legal, and if they say no, we just gonna say, they say no, give us another idea, because that's what we're here for, to try to assist you guys. Yes, sir.
Can we use the money to repair potholes in the streets?
Josh, would you like to take that on?
If you'd like to send the money our way, we'd be glad to make sure it goes in the streets.
No,
But no,
that's not fair
that's
to
not,
me, but
that's not.
The city needs to pay for that, that's not fair to me.
So we try not to do stuff like that. You can allocate funding, but it's like, we'll try to find other ways, but we have a crew that's handling potholes and things like that, so we rather not. But if you do have a pothole, sir, please use your See Quick Fix app, or you can let your resource officer know, and we'll follow up.
Everyone get the 311 app on your phone, it's
Yeah,
great,
yeah.
they're very
So, and
responsive.
follow up with, if you can't do the app, feel free to reach out to your resource officer or me, and just let us know. I'm gonna give you my cell, and Flo can give you hers. My cell number is 205-410, now I repeat it, 7374. That's 205-410-7374. I'm sorry, if I didn't introduce myself, I'm Alice Williams. So just reach out anytime if you wanna shoot a text. Alice, this is going on, give us the directions and we'll try to work it out for you. We'll look into it, that's what we're here for, we're here to serve, and that's what we're excited to do, so, yes, ma'am.
I do have a question, it's probably not under your purview, but every time a water main breaks in our neighborhood, the Birmingham Water Works repaves the hole that they dug with cold asphalt.
Okay.
And it's never flat, and they dig up people's yards, and it take forever, you know, to resod, if they do it. Yeah, and so I think that's terrible, but I don't know if.
So if you do have the information as well, I have a contact and I absolutely wear him out. They sent him something yesterday, so if you wanna text and say, hey, this is the address, send me a picture,
Even
send
if
me
it's
the
not
address.
my yard?
Even if it's not your yard. And so we have another thing that you can use. We have the BirminghamGIS.gov, and that's a map of the 99 neighborhoods. You can get on that link, and if you become familiar with it, you can put in an address, and it'll give you the address. If you don't know the exact address, maybe find one across the street. Use that to find the property address, but BirminghamGIS.gov, use your Google Maps and just send me a text and say, Alice, it's right here, can you send somebody out? And I'm gonna load him up. He's very responsive, so just let me know. Yeah.
That map is really handy.
It is. I love GIS, and I wish everyone would learn how to use it. It also shows you another thing. If people in your neighborhood, you see somebody working on a house, and you don't know if they have a permit, because sometimes people just stick a piece of paper in the window, look, and it shows you if people have permits, so you can let us know, so that stuff won't end up dumped in your neighborhood later on. So we strongly urge you to look at BirminghamGIS.gov, look at that map, it's a great map. And if you need help, we'll show you how to move forward.
Birmingham spelled out?
Yes, ma'am.
Flora, will you give us an idea of what we can spend our money on?
Yeah, so again, we can spend money on like sidewalk repairs, if we wanna allocate funds to our local schools or nonprofit organizations.
Can we donate to other communities if we felt the need to? Okay. And family fun, or fun days and,
Absolutely.
okay.
So I did wanna kind of pitch that out. We are, traditionally, we've allowed neighborhood associations to host their own, I'm sorry, you were trying to take a picture
Yeah.
of the board. Traditionally, we've allowed neighborhood associations to host their own, get to know your neighbor day individually, but this year we're promoting community, get to know your neighbor day events. And so that would be an event with both, Crestline and Eastwood. You all come together. I think I sent an email out earlier this week
So
or maybe
we
this
could
month.
spend our money on beer?
No. You cannot spend your money on beer, but if your organization got an allocation
can.
for some beer, and it just so happened made it to the party, that wasn't at a public place, like the city of Birmingham
Oh,
Park,
beer's not allowed at the park,
Fine.
people.
absolutely fine. I just wanted to let you all know too, before I leave, I did leave my contact information. This is Ms. Alice Williams. She serves as the Deputy Director for the Community Resource Services Division, and I am her employee as the Community Resource Representative, and so I'll be working with you all. That's my information in green. Her information is in blue. I also want to leave you all with a stormwater calendar, so there's a box of them here before you leave. This for the year of 2025. Each month has some nice helpful tips, so feel free to take one, maybe take two, because I think it's maybe at least 75 in this box. So take a few.
We'll leave them for the next meeting.
Alright. And y'all call me, text me if you have any questions. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, y'all.
You're so welcome.
That's great, and thank you for coming, it's great to see you. All right, let's go on and get a, update from Hunter. Thank you for coming, Hunter.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
So, on the waterworks issue, just so you know, there's a asphalt period of 90 days. So when they repair a pipe, there's a 90-day period where there's a settling period of 90 days, and then they're supposed to come back and then do a complete resurface. We've passed an ordinance that makes them do a complete hot patch, which means that they don't just put asphalt down and then run over it a bunch of times with whatever tractor they have inside. So they don't do that. Reach out to the CR, but email me too, because that has been a huge aggravation of mine about that ordinance not being enforced, because it's not just Birmingham Waterworks Board, but anybody that hires a plumber to repair their sewer line, their water line from the street to their house. So we have a lot of private contractors that are just, we'll resurface a street the next day, next week, next month. Someone will come in and then cut without a permit. And then so the city has no recourse, and our enforcement is not where I believe it should be to find the individuals, because I propose that they don't get a business license ever again if they do it. But that was, that was my opinion.
It's hard.
Yeah. From other things, I think that the 501c3 is a great idea. I don't have any neighborhoods in District 2 that have done that. A lot of them are in District 3, but they are able to get those funds and leverage them in ways that I think that are very helpful for them. They also have a lot of generous people that live within those districts that donate the money. The money doesn't appear, it has to be fundraised. But I think that because of the efforts that are going on to reinvigorate the neighborhood association, I think that funds could be raised. And I think that would be very valuable for what the neighborhood wants to do. There's been a lot of I get a lot of emails, phone calls. Andy, I don't know how many phone calls we've gotten about the development.
I can probably tell you.
Yeah, I know you can. I don't know. India knows about the development. And I know that Michael said that there's not going to be an update for a little while, or a while, I don't know, whatever. But I'm gonna tell you all this, because there's also a lot, I've also been, people send me all sorts of emails and misinformation where I'm not really sure it comes from. Whatever y'all want, I'm gonna vote how this neighborhood wants. It's what I've done for 7 years, it's what I'm gonna continue to do. So if y'all want whatever is proposed, I'm gonna vote for it. If you don't want whatever is proposed, I'm gonna vote against it. So I just wanna set that record straight. I don't know when they're coming, but I do think that they're going to come to the neighborhood as a whole, it sounds like, from the email that you sent. And so that's, yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this. So, I know you said you vote how the neighborhood wants. We've clearly seen a reinvigoration of the neighborhood association, and thank you for your article on AL.com, your op-ed on that, because I think that's something we do need to talk about as a city. My question is, are you gonna advocate for us to the rest of the counselors, or is that gonna be incumbent upon, I mean, I feel like we will, 200 of us will show up every meeting that we need to oppose any higher density than single family. But are you gonna be there kind of leading your troops if we decide as a neighborhood we're gonna continue to oppose projects?
Yeah, but let's dive into two aspects of things you just raised, right? One is, you know, I will advocate for this neighborhood like I always have, and I've been successful in making sure that how this neighborhood's voted is how the council's voted for 7 years to date. However, a lot of times I vote against the rest of the council and the mayor, and I sometimes am the no vote or the yes vote, whichever the opposite is of the whole council. Most recently, the shooting downtown. I said, there's no way, and we're recording this, so I'm gonna be more polite, but there's no way that we should allow this business to open knowing what has transpired with management of this individual. I was completely outvoted. And so, you know, I am routinely outvoted on a lot of different issues. That's a soapbox issue. But yes is the answer to your question. For the article that I wrote on AL.com, or it's been something that I keep bringing up, but no one likes it for a lot of reasons. So what people don't understand in a lot of District 2, not all of it, but a lot of District 2 is there's 99 neighborhoods. This is one of them. This is actually one of the best, other than the big meeting. This is one of the best attendances that I've seen. But we have to understand that out of the 99 neighborhoods, I think that there's a lot of graft. I think there's a lot of corruption. I think that there's a lot of, I think that the entire system has become ineffective. And I think that, and I can't prove, this is an opinion. This is not a fact. I don't have a shred of evidence. But every time someone comes before me and says that they're dying to have a strip club in their neighborhood, and I'm being serious. I'm being serious.
Has this happened in your district?
Not District 2, but and I say, you know, how? And most recently, this past month, someone was advocating for a strip club across the street from their house. And I mean, I looked at GIS. I mean, it is across the street, and you wonder how would a neighborhood officer advocate, and does that whole neighborhood really want that strip club in their neighborhood? Another time, you know, several times I've had attempts of trying to either shut down something that is not properly licensed. Usually it's a strip club, or what I call a strip club, or something that has had a litany of police issues at it. And all of a sudden, neighborhood officers will show up in huge favor of something that is where Birmingham police might have responded 30 times in 60 days. And you have to wonder, do you really want that in your neighborhood? So I don't think that, you know, to the op-ed is, I think that there's a bigger issue. You know, a lot of my neighborhoods get the privilege of not having to worry about those issues, right? But a lot of them do. But I think that that's a real issue in the city of Birmingham, because there's 99 of these, and there's a handful that I know that there's a large issue with that in the city of Birmingham, with the way that the 99. Sorry, you might not agree. You might punch me next on Tuesday at City Hall. I don't know, but that is my personal opinion of it, and I think that it's become problematic as years have gone on, and now it's gotten to the point where, you know, let's say that someone wants to open a business and they might be part of a criminal element in the neighborhood, and they're known to be part of a criminal element. I don't care what the business is, but let's say that they're gonna open it up. Well, they show up to a neighborhood association and they present it, and they say, ma'am, are you sure you don't wanna vote in favor for me? So we got a lot of unanimous votes for things that I can only think might be intimidating for the people, either vote for it, or I know exactly where you live. So,
Businesses open in other names.
well, that's a legal shuffle that like the ABC board tries to enforce, but yeah, that's part of it. Yes, sir, Don.
A lot of times when we have liquor license fall in what you're saying, the neighborhood's asked to vote on it, you know, whether you approve it. We have no background information or whatever. They seem to be the first in line, where I would think it would be more logical to be last in line, so that we could get a police report, or find out something about the people, versus just coming here. Well, you approve this liquor license or not? We don't know anything about the people.
So I feel like you feel on the dais trying to approve it too. Is this really who they say they are? Because a lot of times I'll say, I know I've seen this person before. There are issues with that. And the ABC board is, government could do better, believe it or not, on the city level and the state level. Yes, ma'am.
So I handed out for those who came in, and if you came in late, you can, I've got one over here. Municipal elections, because this leads kind of right into, the municipal elections are this year. I've got a calendar, for everybody that pulled off of the Birmingham City website, the League of Municipalities website, with some dates on all the candidate stuff. How do we help you fix these things?
Okay, so one thing that is, and I should have added this into this, one thing that has been really helpful in terms of getting my colleagues not to or to vote for something is when people actually show up.
Yep.
When people show up to City Hall, because it's really hard to sit on the dais and say, okay, there's 15 people here that live in this neighborhood. You know, it might be on the west side of town or the far east side of town. I might not live there. How am I going to outvote the 15 people or 20 people or 30 people, whatever it was, for this downtown bar? There was, 20, 25 folks that actually lived there. How am I going to outvote that person? And I think that that shows, a lot, that the neighborhood's willing to show up in a big way. It does to me. And so I think that the biggest thing, now, if you have a job, council's on Tuesdays at 9:30, and there's a long agenda, and it lasts all day, and you might not be able to sit up there all day, and that's why you elect someone to do it. But unfortunately, that, I think that actually being there and speaking on behalf, because most of the things that you're talking about are a public speaking opportunity, meaning that, like, anyone is allowed to speak on something, a liquor license, a zoning rechange, anything that is of public consumption, the public at large is going to be able to speak. Usually, we have people that, I don't even know if they live in the city of Birmingham, that, they might get up there and instead of speaking to the issue, they might, spill out a litany of Bible verses or something that don't have anything to do with anything. And so if you have people that live in the neighborhood and have the wherewithal to say, like, I don't want this, I live in this neighborhood, that makes a huge difference. Not the 10 people that make their way to City Hall every single Tuesday to give the Bible verses.
Got it.
Y'all videotape, and like if you can't go down to a meeting, you can pull the meetings up. I pull them up every week. And,
they're all online.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all online.
I've missed a lot of meetings. The Airbnb, what happened to that?
So that's still under, so the question was, what happened to short-term rentals or Airbnb rentals? That's still under consideration right now. There's a lot of different viewpoints behind it. So just to give you what I presented at committee of the whole, so everyone's on the same page. I have so again, there are things that are happening in other neighborhoods that are a huge public safety issue that might not be happening in Crestline. In Crestline, there might be some Airbnbs that are of public nuisance because they don't put the garbage out on the garbage day, because they don't live here, they might park in the street, they might have a party, whatever. We have a huge issue in the city of Birmingham with adults renting out Airbnbs for their underage children to party in. And that's where all these shots get fired, and that's where homicides happen, and that's where drugs get dealt, and that's where prostitution takes place, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that is a huge issue right now in the city of Birmingham. To me, this is a floor conversation if y'all want it to be, but to me, it does not make sense for a corporation to own Airbnbs in Arizona and own 60 of them and have no control of what's going on. That doesn't make sense. Now, a lot of people actually in Crestline have reached out to me, and they have an Airbnb as a garage apartment or a basement apartment, and they live there. And that's how that they say that they have no issues, and I've talked to some of their neighbors, and they say, actually, some of the Airbnb guests are better than some of their full-time neighbors. So there has to be a mix that makes sense. In a commercial district, in a downtown, like a mixed-use district, I think Airbnbs make perfect sense. In a residential district, the R1 through 3 or D1 through 3, depending on where we are in adoption of the map, I think that it should take a different turn, because, listen, the city, don't be me, I'm just saying, the city can't enforce anything well, in my opinion. And I think that if the city can't enforce anything well, then we do not need to have party houses or any other Airbnbs that create issues for the people that lived here for a generation, got a mortgage and bought a house and pay taxes. So
I know one on one side fixing that, one on the other side.
I think corporations.
Yeah, one thing I do is I know who's renting them out, and I got their phone number, and if there's a lot of cars parked, a lot of people going in and out.
So that's a responsible Airbnb owner though, and you're a responsible neighbor.
I know.
But that's not the, that is not the law, like the general rule of what's going on
I
with
did
Airbnbs.
ask was that Airbnbs have cameras that are hooked up to the police department in the city of Birmingham.
So I requested that in our committee of the whole meeting. So we have something, yes ma'am, so we have something called the Real-Time Crime Center. And one thing that we have is that I have asked that we do is that anything that requires a liquor license, anything that requires a pool hall license, anything that requires any kind of dance license, whether it be a bar or strip club, anything that requires any kind of approval process other than what that we're required to do, which is automatically grant business licenses to just regular mom and pop businesses, they be required to have their front and whatever exterior cameras that they have hooked up to a real-time crime center. I'm not asking for a BPD to sit there and look at what's going on at a bar or anything else, but we have problem properties in this city, and none of them happen to be in this neighborhood, but we have problem properties in this city where if our real-time crime center had immediate access to an outdoor camera of what's going on, when that first 911 call comes in, then that center can say, okay, I have X number of suspects outside, or I have someone being robbed, or I have whatever, someone having a heart attack, whatever the situation is, and they can guide that, and then we can use that as evidence to revoke them if they're a nuisance, or we can use that as evidence not to, revoke them, because some 911 calls are necessary, and I don't want our businesses not to call 911 because they're nervous we're going to start revoking them either.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a fine line between that.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to one thing before final question. I know the developers aren't ready to ask any more, do any formal anything. Is your understanding, or do you have an understanding at all about whether or not the property we're looking, that we're mostly all concerned about in here to check on, whether it's gonna be, there's gonna be an attempt to rezone it? I'm asking, like, you.
So, I'm gonna defer to, I'm not going to meet, this is a neighborhood meeting, like, this will go to the neighborhood, and y'all will decide. And I
Okay,
will
so you don't know.
Are we gonna resubmit is the question?
Are you gonna resubmit as a D5? Or do you know?
Have y'all submitted anything to the city of
No,
Nottingham?
we have not.
'Cause I haven't gotten notified of any submissions to
What
the city.
we've offered to do, we offered to meet with the neighborhood association officers as of this week, as well as this 501c3 committee, to begin to have initial conversations, because we got a lot of feedback that we did not do that. The neighborhood officers and the 501c3 board have chosen not to meet with us.
Are you meeting to present a plan? Is that?
We asked to meet. We did not say come prepared to talk about a plan. We said we want to begin to talk about how we go through this process and begin to have a discussion. The neighborhood association officers have decided not to meet with us.
Would y'all be willing to come here?
Are these 100 questions?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
'cause I wanna
Okay,
be,
never mind,
I don't
sorry.
want any rumors, I am not going to be part of it.
Not it, is what
We're
you're
just
saying.
sticking with Hunter's report.
Yeah.
You're right, that's it.
Well,
That was out.
if the, Shades Creek, people that live on Shades Creek do not want the walking trail, will you stop the walking trail?
No, ma'am, I will not,
Why?
because it's already voted for, passed, and funded.
But we didn't know about it before it was voted on, passed, and funded.
Well, a certified letter was sent a year ago.
May I, Alice, is there, anything in the rules about our neighborhood funds that could be allocated to maybe do some landscaping along the pathway to alleviate concerns of neighbors, or maybe
You
the
can do
501?
that, and I'm also gonna share, I was gonna share this real quick. The Jefferson County Community Service Fund, you can reach out to request with an S at jeffcofund.org, and that's your state representative. It's a one-page grant, and you can apply for that to get additional funding. And, or you can reach out to them at 205-899-7709. That's the Jefferson County Community Service
I'm
Fund.
gonna reach out to you.
I'll send
Say that number again.
I'm asking about the trail.
899-7709, and you can use funds for that as well as your neighborhood funds too.
Isn't the trail, it's just an extension basically of like Jemison Trail, right? That's fantastic.
Oh, it's the full Jefferson County Red Rock plan. We're gonna be able to go from Ruffner Mountain to Red Rock.
That's awesome.
tomorrow.
Congratulations on getting that funded.
It's one of the best things the city has going for
Yeah, it's gonna be lovely.
in my opinion.
Everyone has a different opinion,
Yeah.
so.
I love it.
Depends how
All right.
it changes on the neighborhood.
Thank y'all.
No different.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Hunter.
Hunter. And y'all be sure and check out the article that he wrote. It's wonderful, and it's the first time anyone's ever spoke up with an idea. So, check it out.
AL.com, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's on AL.com, and it's also on the Crestline Park Facebook page.
Oh.
What you got?
Barbara White, how would you like to say, Michael? I'm on these committees and I'm here because I'm not an officer anymore, but because I've been around so long and I can answer a lot of the questions. I repeatedly said, ask Michael if they are gonna ask to rezone to D5. And they would not ask you. Because from what I saw from 250 people, as I told you on the meeting after the September meeting, this group will never vote against anything or for anything that changes to multiple dwellings. And that was my take from the viciousness of it, the rudeness to y'all, but 250 people, you can't handle. And that group was gonna say no, and you know that it was gonna say no, and I think that's because Big David realized what was happening and took it back. But this group is not gonna ever vote for changing it to multiple. And I just have to say that because I just say shit out and just say it. And I did it at faculty meetings and the superintendent got PO'd.
I'm happy to respond, or I can leave it alone, whatever you
And
like.
that, I'm not, you can respond to me, and I'm sorry that I did
I
it
can
this
respond
way.
publicly.
No, I think that we should consider with your neighborhood association meeting, when we're gonna respect the church's time, y'all, is already out.
My words exactly, thank you very much.
Okay.
We've already had the, update, we will have these every single month, and we'll continue to have these. But I don't think it's being productive at this point, so, we've got a couple more things to, vote on, we gotta spend some money. Yes, so, first off, I move that, introduce a motion to preserve all meetings on video. Number one, all Crestline Neighborhood Association meetings shall be recorded in their entirety, effective immediately. Number two, the recordings shall be made using association-approved equipment, including both audio and video components, to be maintained as part of official association records. Recordings will be made available on YouTube.
So there's no more off-the-record stuff?
Nothing's off the record.
Okay.
So do we have the person that's recording and putting it on and what the backup for them?
Let me finish the whole thing first.
Oh, I thought you did, I'm sorry.
That's right. Number three, the AV committee shall be responsible for recording equipment operation, maintaining an organized archive of recordings, documenting the chain of custody of all recordings, and noting in meeting minutes that recordings were made. Number four, the CNA shall strive to record all meetings in their entirety. However, in the event of an equipment failure, internet issues, or other technical problems, portions of the meeting may not be recorded or may be unavailable. The CNA assumes no liability for unintentional gaps in recordings and maintains that the meeting minutes serves as the official recordings of the proceedings. If the motion is passed, it shall be incorporated into the association's standard operating procedures, and included in this motion is a motion to spend $2,404.85 on AV streaming equipment. And Hallie can give us a couple of minutes of review on how she came up with the list of this $2,400 worth of equipment.
Hello, so I'm Hallie Gibbs, and the reason why I'm the head of the AP committee is because no one wanted to do it, so. So if anybody has any, past expertise in this or would like to help, I would love to have your help, because right now it is a committee of me. I've asked on Facebook, I haven't gotten any bites, so it's me. So I went to 2 neighborhood association meetings just to kind of see what they did. It isn't really what we wanna do, we really wanna, a lot of times people can't come to these, they've got surgery, they have kids at home. So we really wanna stream at home so people can see it, watch it, they can't be there, but the streaming, like he said, you can have internet issues or things like that, so we can't completely rely on the streaming. What we can rely on is what I'm doing right now with my iPad in the back is recording, and then we can upload that on YouTube. That's pretty reliable, so we're gonna commit to definitely doing that every single time. So I talked to this man. Would you then share the link to the Facebook page or
Yes,
whatever?
yes.
Thank you.
Right now, I believe that we are streaming live. We are streaming live. There was a 1.5 minute gap during Hunter because the phone died and we switched phones. Right. But yes, we are streaming live on Facebook, and we'll hope to continue to do that. But this is separate. Right. So so we can post those links everywhere, and if we can add other social media channels as we can. We will. A good way to think of it, so this quote that we got was for 3 different cameras. So if you think about if you go to a city council meeting, ABC's there, NBC's there, CBS. Each one is filming on their own camera. They're distributing it to their different channels. So if we wanted to stream on YouTube, that's one camera. If we wanted to stream Facebook, back there, that's another camera. If we wanted to stream on TikTok, we'd have to have another camera for that. So that's why we have to have multiple cameras. So I talked to this wonderful man named Robert Schultz, who started the Hoover Channel.
And, he spent a few hours of his time giving me the rundown of everything we need. He's been doing it for years. Kinda told him what we wanted to do, what we wanted to accomplish, and he gave me the basic list of what we wanted, and it was 3 different cameras. You have to have SD cards to go in those cameras to capture it, some devices to kind of go in and out to upload them. We have to have a 5G hotspot, power hub, router, adapter, and some software for editing. The quote also says for an iPad, but I think we might be able to take that out of the proposal simply because I have an iPad, and as long as I'm around, we can use an iPad. I don't see a reason why the neighborhood association should have to buy one of those. So,
And the 5G hotspot, we're considering Starlink as well instead?
Starlink, I looked at that, and as long as we have to have we'd have to take it outside and then run it through a window. So I don't know if we can do that, but if anybody else has, Starlink seemed like it had a really good price to it, honestly, so I'd be happy to use that. It's just, we'd have to have, the thing to outside, have a clear shot to the sky.
Okay.
For Starlink to work. That's how that kind of works. So, that's it, basically. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just so glad you're doing it.
Can I get a second to the, go ahead.
Do you wanna have a motion about how much money we can spend with that? She said,
We have budgeted $2,404.85. We think we'll be able to reduce that by taking the iPad out.
I would still say, I'd say go with $2,500 in case you miss
Me
something.
too, yeah, things can
25
change.
without,
Go for more.
Yeah,
And
go
I
for more
also
just in
don't think,
case.
well, she said, I don't know if there's another option besides Starlink that you can take it different places, so you may wanna do a long cord, keep Starlink in there.
Okay.
So the 2,400, that sounds like that's a capital expenditure. Starlink, there'd be subscription
We can pay
fees
for this.
Well, for 5G hotspot, there's also
Right, so that's what I'm just
We
saying.
don't have to see it till the outside.
Is that same for a year, for,
it's monthly.
I'm saying, but for that amount? For the most?
Oh, I see, you're right, so we have to find out how many minutes we have. That doesn't count the subscription.
Is
That's
it
just
paid by the year?
I'll have to look.
Yeah, I think Starlink is 130.
If you can do it by the year, then we won't have to have a motion every month, and we can just budget the whole month, the whole year.
Yeah, I think the Starlink is 130 a month, which is, 1,600 basically a year.
But this is not our house.
Yeah.
How are we gonna?
We'll,
This is not
we'll
our
work
house.
on it, we'll figure it out.
And on here also, there's some cords, because it'll take me, I'll have to get here roughly 30 minutes before each meeting and set everything up and tape it down. If anybody has to walk over it, it's gonna be trips, and then take 30 minutes.
We need to put the, wireless adapters on the thing too. We should just put $3,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would save me some time.
So I move that we authorize $3,000 to spend on it.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All opposed, or any of, excuse me, all in favor? All right, anybody opposed? No one opposed, all right.
I have a quick question regarding attendance, since it's gonna be screened if you're documented as a streaming individual, does that count as an attendance for purposes of future presidency or things of that
So
nature?
that's a discussion I've actually had with, another neighborhood, officer, and there's a couple of different ways you can go. If you do a Zoom meeting, then you can technically sign in and you can technically vote. But we really don't have any way to, confirm that or not. So, that was one way we could go. We thought it would be best to just, stream it so everyone can see it and everyone can be informed, but if you wanna vote right now, you're gonna have to come here.
But, I mean, that has been discussed, it's not something that, we hadn't thought about. Or you
Yeah,
hadn't thought
and we can always bring it up again.
Zoom meetings, I have been going to the Eastwood meeting, they Zoom it, they've been inviting me, and you can't hear the people talking, for one thing. And you can usually hear the answer, but you can't hear the questions as here. And I gotta start wearing my hearing aids because I hadn't heard half of what's going on up here. I have heard time, but Zoom is weird. Zoom is just really weird unless people are speaking up to be heard. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that need to be looked at, but yes, we do need to do this. And hopefully people will put their hearing aids in when they're listening to it.
Hey, Tom.
Yep.
Didn't introduce myself before, but, Josh Yates with Public Works Department.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know if there was anything that y'all wanted to, an update on or anything, in regards to us.
Yeah, Public Works, for sure. Thanks for speaking up. The issue that April brought up with the police officers, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
What was the question?
Public Works is here.
I have a question.
Okay, so, on December 26th, there was, a bunch of signs that were taken out of people's yards. On December 16th, there was a complaint created on the 311 site, and it was acknowledged on December 26th, and on the 26th, that's when multiple residents reported their signs were gone. On December 31st, it was labeled closed. The official response that we've had, we asked Hunter's office to look into it. Public Works and Traffic, who was listed on there as the responding, both denied issuing anything. So we have an opened complaint, we have a closed complaint, we have signs that are missing, and everyone's saying they didn't do it.
So I can speak a little bit on that, my name is Josh Yates, I serve as the Director of the Department of Public Works. And, in regard to signs, that actual case that you're referring to was not assigned by our Public Works Department, so none of our teams received that, that was actually assigned to BDOT. However, I will caution everybody about putting things in the right of way, not your yard. We clearly instruct our crews, do not go into people's yards.
Traffic told me the same thing.
Okay, so we clearly instruct that with our teams. Now, if it's in the right of way, which it depends on which street you're on, it could be a 50-foot right of way, could be an 80-foot right of way. But whatever the right of way is on the street, if it's in the right of way, it's not supposed to be in the right of way. So a lot of times if our crews are called out to pick up signs, and now we don't care what's on the signs. If our teams are called out to pick up signs, they pick up what's in the right of way. In this case, now I don't have a work order on this that came to our department or anything, and I don't have any reason to believe our crews did that. However, we do pick up signs on the right of ways from time to time, and they can be by my house, by this car, political signs, whatever it may be, and any
Crestline
advertisements.
Neighborhood Association meetings?
Well, it doesn't matter what the sign says.
That's what I was gonna say, because we only have about 6 days that we try to take them up.
But when it
But
says
it's hard to know
organization
when-
Birmingham Transportation, they're the ones that responded to it.
Well, they're the ones that closed the case out, so I'm not aware of.
So this guy from BDOT, BDOT_Jeb, who says we have resolved this request, who did he speak to find out that the request was resolved? Someone in transportation, I would think.
I assume so. Like I said, that's, Director Fowler is over transportation. I don't think that, from what Councilor Williams and everyone said is that they talked to them and it wasn't them, but, we didn't even get the request, and like I said, if we do get those requests, we take up what's in the right of way and we put it by our dumpsters for up to a week. And then we discard them if nobody wants them, cause it gets real rampant around political season. And, we don't want our intersections and right of ways just littered with signs all the way down the block. So we do pick them up, and then when we cut grass on our major thoroughfares, we move them again. So we don't pick them up and put them back down. If we pick them up, we take them to the dumpster, we leave them.
But on someone's private property, that should
We
never,
don't
ever
go
happen.
on the private property.
And the other thing that was interesting is, it was only the neighborhood signs that were removed.
So
Like, if people
that's.
had other signs, they were not.
Right, and that's very odd. If there's anything in the right of way, it doesn't matter what it's for.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what candidate, it doesn't matter what it says. If it's advertising in the right of way, it's removed. If we go in there to do work in the right of way, to clean up or cut grass or whatever we may be doing in there, we do remove them. But this case, I'm not familiar with any of our crews.
So the right of way is measured from the center of the street to 80 feet or 50 feet?
Most of the time, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If there's some, like, when it's voting time and everybody puts it, and they leave them and it's in the right of way on my corner, if I pick them up and take them out, will I get in trouble?
I don't think you will, it's public right of way, and, you know, again, you could be, I guess you can get, I don't wanna speak for the police department, but.
Enforcement's not very good in the city of Birmingham.
It's kinda like littering and putting signs in the right of way.
They'll get in
So,
there.
you know, taking one up, I don't think you may have a problem with whoever put it out, but,
I won't get in trouble with the city, in other words.
I don't believe so, no ma'am.
Because I've done.
All right, real quick, Don, let's get out of here.
Yeah. You said the right of way, everybody's lot's in the right of way. Can you just say public right of way and not individual city lots of homeowners?
Well, the public right of way, extends a lot of times beyond what's on the road and the curb and gutter. It goes, the sidewalks are, 10, 12, 15, 20 feet beyond the paved road. However, you know, a lot of times, like I said, when it comes down to these type things, we're talking about, our crews would be primarily on major thoroughfares. They're not gonna really be in a lot of neighborhoods. Now, there are times when we go into neighborhoods, especially if it's raining and our grass crews need to, you know, they don't have an assignment that day if it's raining, they're gonna go in and clean up, pick up litter, do things to prep for that cut on the next day or whatever it may be. But the right of way, the public right of way, whatever it's classified as, a lot of our residential streets are usually around a 50-foot right of way. So as you mentioned, maybe 25 from center line out. So a typical roadway, typical lane is 10 to 11 foot, could be 12, depending on the road classification. And so if it's 12 foot for something, you got 13 feet beyond the edge of the road, you know. So it just really depends. However, you know, it's not a thing that we look and say, hey, that sign goes and that one stays. If there's anything out there, we take it. But we only do that at certain times, as far as like, it's raining and we don't have a lot to do, they need to go out and still continue to make the community look good. So, again, we're not targeting any signs. This case, it didn't come to us, we didn't do that, but, we do have crews that do that when it's slow.
Is there not a city ordinance that indicates a sign may be present for a certain period of time and then should be or
There's
must be
sign
removed?
ordinance, yeah.
There's no public advertisement allowed in the city right away, just like state right away. You're not supposed to advertise in the right away.
Would one of those signs be advertising?
If they were in the right away, yes.
And how far is the right of way in my yard?
I don't know your yard specifically, but it could be 10, 12, 15 feet, depending from the edge of the roadway.
Okay.
And it depends on if you have sidewalks, whether it's classified as a collector, residential street.
10, 12.
Traffic told me they don't have a measuring stick, they're not gonna go measure it and make sure that's not their.
It shows the right of way on your property.
So most of the time, your surveys are gonna show the pinpoints of your private property, they're not gonna show the road in correlation to it, unless you had like a subdivision plat. You can probably look at a subdivision plat, and that's where you'll see a lot of your right-of-way widths.
Look on the GIS.
Yeah, GIS is a good tool as well.
I have a question about recycling.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I had put in, right as soon as y'all announced it, and asked to get a bin,
Yes, ma'am.
but I was on a list.
Okay.
Okay, then the two old ladies down the street, about 3 weeks later, I put in, they got one the next week, I'm still waiting. I have put in numerous, and now I've just got the purple thing that Hunter gave us, or the blue thing that Hunter gave us. And, I watched the bin, because with Crestline is now, everybody gets garbage on Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
And recycling on Monday.
Which is the worst day to have it, because y'all never plan ahead on the Monday holidays.
So, I saw the garbage men pick up the garbage and the recycling and throw it in the same thing the next day, on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, because Monday they didn't run.
So you're talking about this week, you said
I'm
that?
talking this week.
Okay.
And
So-
I had to put it on 311 because Mountaindale is no longer being picked up. I mean, they're turning at my house and going up Dunstan. They're turning at my house and they forget. I don't know what's happening on Swallow.
So I can talk a little bit about that. We made the changes here recently. All neighborhoods, have a designated day now, and, that was needed. It's been needed for a long time. Our waste program was, Stone Age. And so, they were saying, oh, we're gonna go pick up the mall route. We're gonna go get this route. Nobody knew what that meant, and it'd be a part of this neighborhood, a part of that neighborhood, and a part of this neighborhood. And, that makes it very difficult when you have somebody leave or a driver out, and you're relying on somebody in the back of the truck or somebody else to tell you where to go. So what we've done is we've said every neighborhood's gonna have a designated day of the week. And when your day of the week it is, and every other week you're gonna have recycle pickup. Now, what you saw probably is, we have a brand new recycle truck that's a monster truck, but it's an automated truck. If you have the bin, a garbage truck that's a regular truck follows behind it and throws your bin in there. And so, we have to run a rear loader and an automated side
And
loader
they're
with
together?
recycle. Yes,
Oh, well, then I saw the second guy.
yes, cause the
What
automated
about the
truck
old
can't.
bins though, if you haven't given us a cart?
So, to talk about the bins a little bit, we had 5,000, and just for everybody's knowledge, recycle is not recycle works well with keeping volume out of our landfill, but it costs the city a lot of money. And there's not there's no fee tied to garbage pickup. We're one of the few municipalities across the nation that does not charge for waste pickup. And so, with recycle, what I've pressed is really to get grants and other things to try and make up for that cost that we're losing, by paying for recycle. However, the bins, we've got 5,000 of them from a grant. And we've won another grant, and we're put in for some others as well that we're trying to get so that we can continue to build upon. We only have about 8,000 people that have put in for bins. And so I'm working to get.
Carts.
Yes, the new carts, the new
Yeah, the new
carts.
carts.
They're 64-gallon carts.
Bins are what we have.
Right.
Carts are what you say we need.
And
The
so.
big blue trash cans.
The blue ones, okay.
When we get the next shipment of 5,000 carts, that second truck's no longer gonna be following the first truck. And they'll only be automated pickups from there on out, just like the garbage now, the household garbage, they don't pick up beside the cart, they just empty what's in your cart.
Well, there were 2 men on that truck that emptied my recycle.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was gonna say, mine didn't get picked up, but they got my garbage, but they left my recycle. I had it in the bin stacked up right next to it. When I called the city, she said that they were trying to just concentrate on garbage because of the holiday, and I thought, well, you could have told me that before our garbage
No,
was all out
that's
there.
not accurate, that's not accurate.
Well,
So
that's what I'm
we fixed that, so with
Well, that was just this
holidays,
week.
with holidays, along with the Monday, Wednesday or first and third recycling, that was problematic due to holidays, and we push it to the 4th or something like that, and nobody would remember or be sitting out there too long. The recycle program has a supervisor now designated for only recycling across the entire city, and we're picking up every day as opposed to the first and third of the month. They've already shown that they're picking up a lot more tonnage in recycling than what we were prior. So on that one day we were recycling, we were putting 28 trucks on the road to try and drive every household, all 70,000 households in the city of Birmingham. That's very difficult, leads to a lot of misses. It was not a good program. This new program we've got, it's got a new supervisor, veteran operators, but new supervisor with new routes. And it's gonna take a little bit of time for them to get used to it, but it's gonna be a lot more effective, a lot more efficient, and they're not gonna miss nearly as often as they have. And speaking of misses, like with our garbage, last year we had roughly 10,000 missed garbage complaints that were sent in. We service 70,000 households a week. So across the entire city, that's millions of service stops per year with 10,000 misses. So yes, it happens, and we apologize. We want it to not happen at all. We've actually got new software we've invested in to be able to put new routes on the ground. And the routes now, that's what we're doing. Every time we're making these changes, we're doing that to better our efficiency and better our routing. We're now on a 4-day work week instead of 5. So anytime we have a holiday, everybody remember, everybody's bumped 1 day. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's great.
So if you have a Monday holiday, Monday goes to Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Thursday, Friday. Now our crews aren't having to come in on Saturday. So it's,
You need to let that be known, because they put out the calendar with the dates, you know, like for the every other, and I thought, you know, anybody can figure out every other. But
it's a very confusing way to say that, yes.
It is, and then one other thing, and I won't go into detail. The children in school are the best ones to spread the word. You need to have programs that go to the elementary schools and teach them how to recycle. And it's just helpful, and it's good education.
That's a great suggestion, and part of our grant is to go to the schools and educate the kids.
Good.
Josh, when the new schedule came out, it said Crestline would be picked up on Monday.
Yes.
I don't think our driver knows that Mountaindale and Swalla are in Crestline.
That's my point.
It's always, I put it out for Monday pickup, and it's Tuesday morning at dark 30 when they pick it up.
Right.
Okay, that's good
In
to know.
other words,
Yeah,
I don't know
Mountaindale and
how
Swallow.
well you know Mountaindale, but once you make that, where Mountaindale and Dunstan come together and make that right turn.
So I'll tell you that historically, these routes that are being ran were all over the place. And, it was very imperative during COVID, when we lost entire crews, how bad it was, when I would send drivers from other areas and they didn't know where to go. So these new routes that we had, and it just started January 6th, give it just, if you have a miss, we're gonna make it right. But give it just a little bit of time to get corrected. They're learning these new routes, and they're not used to what the neighborhoods are.
Okay.
There's a lot of what, they call it certain areas and certain things, it may be landmarks, the Vulcan route or whatever it may be, but that's not a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they're learning the neighborhood boundaries that they really haven't had to learn in the past.
Well, if ours is the same driver that we had in 24, that driver was used to ending right there where Mountaindale and Dunstan, and because we had Tuesday pickups.
So I'll definitely check into that and make our teams know that Crestline's not fully being picked up on Monday. We'll make sure that they get corrected.
Between Barbara and a few others of us, that 311 gets some notifications.
Well, and if you'll put your notes in there, so I check our 311s daily. So you mentioned potholes. I was kidding earlier about throwing money in the fund, we get pothole requests all the time citywide. I monitor our 311 requests daily. So I pull it up on mine and I can see how many requests we have, how many this calendar year, how many have come in, how many we've resolved, and how many linger out open. How many days they've been open. I look at potholes, missed garbage, animal control, storm drain cleaning, everything.
Goodness, that's a
So,
lot.
when it comes to that, especially missed garbage, we're making sure our requests are handled by the end of the week. So every Friday, we don't have a route. So if they wanna bring a crew in to make up any misses or anything like that, I told them, instructed them to come in and send a crew in on Friday to make sure that we clear everything out by Friday. So please keep putting them in, and if we miss your garbage or miss the date that we're supposed to be on, please put it in. That's the only way that they're gonna know that they're missing it, so that we can get it corrected.
But we can still use our old bins, right, for the recycle
Until we get the next round. So when we get the next round of carts, and it's for everybody that signed up to date, we're gonna make it cart only, so that old truck is not gonna be following the new one anymore.
All right, she said she wasn't sure about the waiting list, cause they couldn't tell who was on the waiting list.
No, I
I've
can
signed
see-
up twice, but.
I can see everybody on the waiting list. The problem you have is that, we had everybody came in, we took the first however many came in, and we split them up, by neighborhood and started distributing. If you were one of the first that signed up and it didn't come through, I'm sorry, we'll work with you to try and get
I'm
it.
wondering if that guy has decided, I don't recycle enough, because mine is just paper and liquor bottles.
Our drivers don't have anything to do with who decides who gets a
So
car.
they're not deciding well, she doesn't recycle.
No,
Okay.
Now, they will pull your recycle cart if you're not recycling, putting the stuff, if you're putting household garbage in your recycle bin, they're gonna
Oh,
pull your
no.
cart, but, other than that.
And thank you for
that-
giving us toothbrush pickups.
Yeah, 2 days is great.
And bear with me, I'm trying to make that work as best as possible. Again, we're going from once a month to twice, sometimes 3. We're trying to do it and I'm trying to make that your day every other week. So if it's a Monday bulk pickup, I'm trying to be back 13 days later at that next Monday, 14 days later on that next Monday. So, bear with us though, cause going from once a month to every 2 weeks, they're trying, I'm telling them, if you've got a portion of a neighborhood you haven't finished, move on to the next day. And when you get there in 13 days, you start right there and get that up and then come sweep back through the rest of the neighborhood. So, again, bear with us as we get caught back up. But we've finally got some good, some new equipment, and we're working to try and be there as best as possible.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Can I have your last name, please?
Yates. Y-A-T-E-S. Y-A-T-E-S. Yates.
Oh, okay. And first name's Josh, okay.
Yes, sir.
I reported a pothole on Dunstan and it was filled in less than 10 days. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The one that was there for 3 years?
Well,
10 years.
I should have reported it earlier.
All right, guys, I know we're way over. I really apologize. We need to spend one more little bit of money. So I have a, motion to spend approximately $500 on new signs to announce, neighborhood association meetings. We have very few. They're awful.
They are. Are you gonna redesign it?
Yes.
I move that you we give you, that we spend $500 making new signs for us to
Great. Do I have a
put
second?
out.
Second.
All right.
Redesign.
There you go. Todd, I move we adjourn.
I'm gonna second that one myself. How about that? Go home, people. Be safe. Thank y'all for coming.
Are we supposed to take those?
If you'd like one, please.
Y'all, please take